All right. Well, this live, I'm going to be talking a little bit about some career advice for internal auditors. Now, the reason is, I get asked, people send me messages and emails all the time asking me for career advice. So I thought it would be easiest to just answer the questions, record it out there so that everybody who has these questions can get the answers right here. So when I show up on a live like this, if you're actually watching me live, go ahead and type in the comments area so that I know that you're here. And one of the reasons for that is if I see your comments or your questions come through, I can actually answer your questions during this live video. So when I come on here live, this is usually what will happen. I'll start off talking, see who joins me. I've got some prepared information that I was planning to share based on some questions that people had sent me. So I'm going to go through and kind of answer those questions, talk a little bit about those topics. And then again, if you're on with me live, or even if you see this later, type in the comments any questions that you might have, and I can either answer them here if you do it while you're live with me, or if you put it in the comments. And again, this is streaming out to a lot of different places on Facebook, as well as on LinkedIn. So if you come across this video as well and you have a question, go ahead and post something in the comments. And when I can, I will come back and actually answer that question. So again, just as a reminder, if you're here with me live, type in the comment section so that I know that you're here and I can acknowledge you. And then again, as I'm answering the questions, if you have other questions, then type in the comments area. So, so in this video, I want to go through and talk about some questions that I just got this last week from somebody. And so the first question was, it looks like this person is wanting to move into a new position. Okay. And so they were asking, one of the questions is, do I need another certification to rise up the ranks to senior and or manager? So let me kind of address that first. To get to the senior internal audit level, sometimes you need a certification, sometimes you don't. Part of that is really going to be based on the hiring manager, the chief audit executive, what they have determined. A lot of times for jobs at the senior level, you're not required to have a certification. Often at the manager level, you are required to do that. So for example, when I was chief audit executive, you had to have at least one certification before you could become a manager. That was just part of the job description and one of the basic requirements. So one way, again, I'm trying to answer these questions, but make it broad for everybody. So the easiest way to find out if that is a requirement is look at the job description. So if you're interested in some other positions, look up the job description and see if they are requesting certification. Okay. Now, what I will tell you is even sometimes at the staff level, certain people do want to see a certification. And so this is kind of a chicken and egg thing that a lot of people end up getting stuck in is, I want to get a job in internal audit, but I don't have a certification. But traditional audit certifications usually require you to have experience before you can get the certification. See the chicken and egg? You can't get a certification unless you have experience, but you can't get the experience unless you have the certification. Now, that's again the way that a lot of traditional internal audit certifications are set up. I think that's wrong. It puts you behind the eight ball. It makes it difficult for you to try to do it. So one of the things that you can do is if that's where you are stuck, go out to ondemand.criskacademy.com because actually there are modern certifications that you can earn in internal audit within a month. So usually 1 to 2 weeks that don't require the experience or particular educational hoops to go through. You don't have to take multiple exams. It's just one exam. So, again, you don't have to worry about not passing the exam and then because again, a lot of times these traditional certifications take you 2 to 5 years to get. And I don't think that you want your career on hold for 2 to 5 years while you're trying to get a certification. So if you don't have a certification, that is obviously going to be one thing that's going to help you in moving into internal audit and moving up from a senior to a manager level. Okay. Now, this particular individual already has 2 certifications. So for them to get to, the senior level, it might not be necessary if you already have 2 certifications. But again, you just kind of want to know what those certifications actually are and whether they're relevant. If you don't have certifications on your resume, it's probably time for you to get something, because again, that's one of those things that people are looking for and expecting in today's marketplace. So again, you can go out to ondemand.criskacademy.com. That's one of those places where you can actually get certifications quicker. So that's the first question about needing certification to get to senior or manager. Again, sometimes you'll need it to get to senior. Most likely you will have to have it to get to manager. Okay. The next one says, I have offers for senior positions, and I know I'm capable and have the knowledge, but I have imposter syndrome. How do I combat that? Okay. Imposter syndrome is I can't answer everything around that on this particular video today. But I do have some information on my website about imposter syndrome. In fact, I have recorded a new Jamming with Jason podcast episode that is all about imposter syndrome. So the idea is effectively that, the more imposter syndrome is when you are afraid that other people will find out that you're not as good as what you might think they think you are. And so it's this idea of fear that usually holds people back. Now, what I will tell you is 70 to 80% of the people in the world suffer with some form of imposter syndrome. Reality is it's not real, usually. Okay. It's something that's made up in your mind. And it's something that you're concerned with that most other people actually are not concerned with. Okay. So that's a little hint for you. But again, I did a live on this a little while ago with Sam Osborne, one of my friends. And as I said, that's going to come out as a Jamming with Jason podcast episode as well. So if you want, you can go back. Here's the link to get to see the different Jamming with Jason episodes. Go to jasonmefford.com/jamming with Jason. And you can see those podcast episodes, and they're free. So you can listen there or listen on any podcast player that you listen to as well. Okay, so that's a little bit about imposter syndrome. Like I said, you just have to move past it, okay, is what I'll tell you. So that's kind of that question, okay? And again, if you're here listening with me live, because I can see people are listening, okay? If you're here, put in the comments area that you're here. If you have a question about any of the stuff that I'm talking about, make sure and post your question there, because again, after I go through the standard questions that I have here, if there's questions, I'll stay on, and if I have time, I'll answer. Okay, so the next question was at the 2 to 3 year mark. So again, this person, I'm guessing, is 2 to 3 years into their career in internal audit. And so the question is, well, if I've been in internal audit for 2 to 3 years, what salary range should I be making? What kind of salary should I expect to know that I'm being competitive, right? Because again, a lot of times you've got a job, they paid you something when you first started, you get some raises, but you never really know, how do I compare with somebody else? Are they paying me fairly, or should I move to another company that's actually going to pay me the market price of what I deserve? Okay. Now I'll give you a little tip here that a lot of people don't know about. And it's a website called salary.com. In fact, let me just type that in here real quick so that you can see that. So salary.com is a website that I have used for many years. I haven't used it recently, right? Because I haven't been in that industry, but I just checked, and it's still up and live. And from that website, you can actually get an idea of what the competitive salaries are for your job in your local area. Now, I know this is true for at least here in the United States. So again, I'm just talking based on my experience in other parts of the world. There's probably other websites that might do this, or Salary might as well. I don't know. But salary.com is where you can get some information. And so let me just share with you how you would do that, right? So again, if this person is either a staff auditor or a senior auditor, they could go out to a website like salary.com and put in their job description, and they can put in the location. So I just pretended like I was this person before I started shooting this live video. Okay. So I went out and I said, I want to see what a senior internal auditor and also an internal auditor 3, which is another title that some organizations use that is equivalent to senior internal auditor. So I just went out and I said, okay, if I was a senior internal auditor living in Long Beach, California, which is where I live, okay, and so I put in my zip code. I said, okay, show me what the salaries are of other senior internal auditors that live in Long Beach, California. And so I go through, you click a few buttons and you end up getting to a place where it shows you a distribution chart. It's a bell curve, okay? And in this bell curve, you'll see that there's numbers on it: 10%, 25%, 50%, 75%, and 90%. So let me just explain to you what those mean so that you can determine where you're at, right? Because you're looking at that information and then you're going to be comparing that with what you're actually making in your organization. So the middle point, the 50%, is called the median. And what the median shows is 50% of people in that job make more than that amount, and 50% of people in that job make less than that amount. Okay, so it's not a mean average, it's a median average. And a median average means 50% make more, 50% make less. Okay? So in that instance, the 50% median here in Long Beach is $89,390 per year. $89,000 a year. Okay? So if I was a senior and I was looking at this and let's say I'm making $95,000, I would say, I'm making more than half the people, right? I'm above the median, so I'm probably being paid fairly. If I'm only getting $70,000 as a senior, I might look at that and go, well, I'm probably making almost $20,000 less than the average person in my area. So at that point, I would say I'm probably not being competitive. And so if my organization isn't willing to pay me more money, it's probably time for me to go look for a new job, because $20,000 difference a year is a lot of money. Okay. So what do the other numbers mean on there? Well, the other numbers show you the percentage of people and where they're at. Okay. And so again, the 10% means that 10% or fewer people the 10% of the people are making, in this instance, 72,000 or less. Okay, so that's why I said, if I was doing this for me and I'm only making 70, I'm going to say 90% of the people in this same job in my geography are making a lot more money than I am. Probably time for me to look for a new job. Okay, so it's got 10%, 25%, 50, 75, and 90%. So on the flip side, the 90%, the top number is 105,629. So 105,000. So if I'm a senior in Long Beach making $100,000 a year, I'm going to be pretty happy, because I'm saying, look, maybe only 10% of the people make more than that. I'm probably being paid fairly. So, but the reality is, right, is very few people are going to make that amount of money. So, what's better is for you to look at the 25 to 75% range, which the numbers again here for Long Beach are 80,290 is the 25, 97,890 is the 75. So really we've got a range between 80,000 and about 98,000 for this particular job. So if you're being paid between those two amounts, your organization's probably being fair to you and you probably have a competitive wage, okay? Because the reality is you're not going to be at 105. Okay, there's very few people that are going to be at the 105. Okay, so again, that's kind of the question on, how do I know whether or not I'm being competitively paid in my salary? Okay. The last question that this person had was, is it okay to switch industries, but stay in internal audit to gain more exposure if I have a good offer? And the answer is yes. Okay. Now, they added on to the end of that, this early in my career. So I want to address both of those things. Okay. First off, it's perfectly fine, especially early on in your career, to switch industries. If you start off in banking and then you decide to go to manufacturing and then you decide to go to natural resources, it's okay, right? Because the job skills of how to audit are going to be transferable across the industries. Okay, so don't be worried about that. It's okay to change industries. It's also probably a good idea to change industries early in your career so that you know what you like. Okay, one of the benefits I had of being in public accounting to begin with, I had all kinds of people or all different industries that were my clients. I mean, I had one of them was a Russian fishing company. That was pretty cool. I had a fireworks company. I worked for a lot of forest products companies, people that make wood products in paper. I had food manufacturing companies, right? So I had real estate companies. I worked on some pension plans, right? So I had a good breadth of experience of different industries. Now, why is that good in your career? Because when you have that exposure, now you can start to see which industries you like more. Okay. Maybe you like healthcare. Maybe you like banking. Maybe you like manufacturing. Well, you're not going to know unless you actually try working for a company in those industries. Now, for myself, I really enjoy manufacturing companies. That's what I liked. That's where I chose to spend most of my career when I was in corporate. That was my personal preference. But again, you can do what's right for you. So it's perfectly fine to switch industries throughout your career. And especially early on in your career, that's fine. Now, the longer you get in your career, now people are probably going to start looking for your industry expertise as well. So if I'm hiring a manager or a senior manager, I'm probably going to want them to have some very technical experience in that particular industry. But just because they don't doesn't mean I'm not going to hire them. It just means I might prefer to have somebody with industry experience. Okay, so hopefully that kind of answers that question. Perfectly fine to switch industries throughout your career. In fact, it's even okay to go outside of internal audit and then come back in later. Okay, some of the best internal auditors actually do that. So let me address the second part on this was, well, is it okay to switch this early in my career? Well, again, if this person, again, from the questions and what they've told me, I'm assuming this person has 2 to 3 years of experience. It's perfectly fine to switch jobs after 2 to 3 years. If you're switching jobs every 6 months or every year, then people start to wonder if there's something wrong with you, right? Because a lot of times if people leave positions that quickly, Maybe it's because they're a difficult person to work with and they got fired. Okay. Or at least that's the perception, or that's what people are thinking might actually happen. Okay. But every 2 to 3 years, if you're changing jobs and you're going into an area of more responsibility and more pay, nobody's probably going to question that. Now, if you've been moving from senior audit job to senior audit job every couple of years, you're moving, but you're not progressing in your career, then again, people might wonder or have some questions about that. But, again, and in my opinion, you probably should move every 2 to 3 years early in your career, because that's how you're going to make more money. That's how you're going to get those promotions quicker, is actually by going to other companies. Because the reality is, usually you get hired by one company, they don't progress you that quickly. And sometimes you have to wait because there's other people ahead of you. And so sometimes people may wait 5 or 10 years to get a promotion. Well, I don't think you need to do that, as long as you're willing to take the chance and go to work for another company. And as long as you're moving up in the ranks, then again, things are going to be fine that way. Okay, so those are kind of the basic questions that I got asked that I wanted to make sure and answer today. So do you need certifications to move up to senior and manager? Probably. Maybe not at senior, but at least at manager, you will need to have some certifications. A little bit about imposter syndrome. And again, check out Jamming with Jason. There's going to be an episode coming out on that. If not next week, the following week, probably, because I've already recorded one. It just hasn't dropped yet. What salary should you be making to be considered, what's competitive? And again, I've kind of told you a website, at least here, that you can go to in the US. And again, there's probably other websites out there that do a similar thing. And then, is it okay to switch industries? And how often is it okay to switch industries? So again, that's kind of the questions that I had today. So if anybody is on live with me and has questions as we're going along, if you type in the comment area, I'm only going to give you a few more seconds, because if you're here with me live, then I'll try to stay on for a few minutes. If not, I got other stuff I got to do today. So play the Jeopardy music or something. All right, so not seeing any comments coming in, I'm going to take off for the day and get back to what I need to do. But hope you enjoyed the video. Again, you can always find more information. I've got lots of blog posts as well out at jasonmefford.com. You can find me, again, all the courses that I have. You can find very easily out at C-Risk Academy, which is ondemand.criskacademy.com. So again, my 30 years of experience, I've recorded in courses, so you can get most of them there. Okay. As well as through the Jamming with Jason podcast that I have, which again is, you can go out to jasonmefford.com/jamming with Jason to find that out. And so with that, I'll catch you on the next live. See ya and have a great rest of your day.